Determining the validity of an adult relationship is the bedrock of family law practice. It serves as the gateway to every financial protection. But when a union is legally defective, the law does not treat every error with the same weight. Some defective marriages shatter instantly at the moment of the ceremony, while others remain legally valid for years until a court actively intervenes to end them. The Matrimonial Causes Act 1973 divides defective marriages into two statutory categories. The first is the void marriage under Section 11, unions the law treats as though they never existed. The second is the voidable marriage under Section 12, unions that remain valid until formally annulled. Precisely diagnosing whether a marriage falls under Section 11 or Section 12 dictates the procedural barriers a practitioner will face and the financial remedies available to the client. We start our analysis with the absolute defects listed in Section 11. A void marriage is void ab initio, meaning it is a legal nullity from the very beginning. While no court order is technically required to end it, practitioners must still obtain a decree to enable the court to issue financial and property orders. These grounds center on an absolute lack of capacity. Under the Minimum Age Act 2022, if either party is under 18, the marriage is void regardless of parental consent. Capacity is also restricted by the prohibited degrees of relationship. Parties too closely related by blood or through specific legal relationships lack the standing to marry. Finally, a marriage is void if either party is already married or in a civil partnership, rendering the new union bigamous. In Pedero Merneg v. Merneg, a wife's petition for divorce failed because she could not prove she had obtained a divorce from a previous husband in the Philippines. The court granted the second husband a decree of nullity because the marriage was void due to bigamy. Section 11 is an absolute threshold because it relies on objective facts regarding status. It invalidates the union without any assessment of the party's intent or beliefs. There is a crucial caveat outside of Section 11, the non-marriage or non-qualifying ceremony. The case of Akhtar v. Khan involved an 18-year relationship and 4 children, initiated by an Islamic nikah ceremony. That specific ceremony lacked 3 legal essentials. No prior notice was given, no certificate was issued, and no registrar was present. The Court of Appeal ruled that despite the party's long-term intent, the ceremony was so fundamentally flawed it did not even qualify as a void marriage under Section 11. A similar result was seen in El Gamal v. Al Maktoum. A wholesale failure to comply with English formal requirements resulted in a legal void. This distinction is critical because a non-marriage permanently bars the applicant from seeking any financial or property redistribution orders under the 1973 Act. Now we pivot to the Section 12 voidable marriage. Unlike a void marriage, this union is legally valid and recognized until a party successfully applies for a decree of nullity. The grounds for annulment here are conditional. The first is non-consummation, which can arise from a party's physical incapacity or their willful refusal to consummate the marriage. Note that the non-consummation ground applies only to opposite-sex marriages. It is not available for civil partnerships. The second ground is a lack of valid consent. This occurs when a party's agreement to marry was given under duress, by mistake, or while suffering from an unsound mind. In Hirani v. Hirani, a young woman was threatened with being forced out of her home unless she married her parents' choice. The court found this overbore her will, destroying true consent and making the marriage voidable. Section 12 also includes specific defects, like the presence of a sexually transmitted infection at the time of marriage, pregnancy by another person, or a party having an acquired gender unknown to the applicant. Section 12 grounds are conditional flaws. These are often subjective or hidden issues regarding consent that require active litigation to expose and annul. Because voidable marriages have conditional validity, the court restricts a party's right to annul them through the statutory bars found in Section 13. The primary restriction is the 3-year bar. For most Section 12 grounds, an applicant has a strict 3-year deadline from the date of the ceremony to start proceedings. However, this deadline does not apply to claims based on non-consummation. These petitions can be filed years after the ceremony. The second bar is approbation. If an applicant's conduct implies they accepted the defective marriage, they may be barred from seeking an annulment. Finally, if the applicant knew about a defect, like an STI or pregnancy, at the time of the ceremony, the law bars their claim.
Section 13 exists to protect the reliance interests of the parties and maintain the stability of marriages against delayed, subjective complaints. A final order of nullity terminates the marital status and immediately shifts the legal rights of the parties involved. Children of both void and voidable marriages are treated as legitimate, provided, in void cases, that at least one party reasonably believed the union was valid. The primary motivation for pursuing an annulment in a void marriage is to bring the case within the court's statutory jurisdiction, and annulment grants the court the same statutory powers to redistribute money and property found in standard divorce proceedings. This is the core difference from a non-marriage, which provides no access to the financial protections of the 1973 Act. Regarding inheritance, a final nullity order means neither party will inherit under intestacy, and any existing will provisions for the former spouse automatically lapse. While they stem from different legal defects, the financial remedies for void and voidable marriages are functionally identical under the Act. Mastering Sections 11 and 12 is about distinguishing an absolute absence of capacity from the conditional defects of consent. It also requires carefully identifying the non-marriage threshold, which can leave a client entirely unprotected by family law. Recognizing these statutory boundaries is the only way a practitioner can accurately advise on asset redistribution, on specific legal timelines, and relationship status.